you can see Casper is going to need a new hood pad. You know, looking at this pad and these cutouts here, I suspect this is original to the car. That's pretty amazing. 38-year-old hood pad, still kind of holding on, but pretty soon I'm going to have chunks falling off into the engine. Now, we supply new hood pads. Are not exactly the same as the originals, but I highly recommend hood pads because they do reduce engine noise and they also help to save the paint on your hood. Keeps that hood from getting too hot, and over time it will deteriorate the paint. So I'm going to just show you a couple tips in this video. My hood pads come with complete instructions, but I finally found a scraper that I like to be able to use to remove these pads, and I'll demonstrate that to you now. After looking at that pad, can you imagine what's going to happen if you just start pulling out this pad and chunks start falling down in and around the engine? It can be a real pain to clean the engine compartment after pulling off an old hood pad. So I always recommend just get some drop cloth plastic and cover the engine compartment, the whole engine compartment, so as you start pulling this off, you're going to save yourself a lot of work. Watch what happens as I just start pulling chunks off here. So that makes it real nice. You can just start dumping all this stuff into the plastic, and then if you got some spots that are really hard to get off here, then we're going to come back and use that new scraper I found. You'll notice this plastic scraper has pretty sharp edges and has multiple surfaces, both flat and curved. And this is really handy when working on these hoods because you'll find compound curves where you'll have to get in and scrape away. Never use a metal scraper when removing one of these hood pads. So just get a hold of a part of the pad that you're trying to get off, and then just bring the scraper in and just work it against the glue like this, see? And then pull it back. Right here, I'll use a scraper, I'll use this, and I'll just kind of scrape it like this, see? Now, I do recommend you use gloves when doing this because, although not knife sharp, those are pretty sharp edges. They kind of hurt your hand. But see what I'm doing? I'm just taking and drawing this like a knife as I pull the hood pad away from the hood. If you just take the hood pad and start pulling on it, what you're going to end up doing is leaving, see, a bunch of chunks, and those are even harder to get off after the main part of the pad's removed. So you want to pull on it and use this scraper to keep cutting into this glue as I'm pulling it back. See this? Now you will have spots that you'll have to come back and work off with this scraper. So what you can do here, I'll just show you this. Just use this end of the scraper like this. You don't have to get all the glue off. You just want to get the foam off before you put the new hood pad on. It seems like the original hood pads are always the hardest to get off. I think the glue they use at the factory is pretty good stuff. Now, some of these aftermarket hood pads I've seen on cars that have been replaced, they tend to fall off, especially if previous installer used a spray glue. They all stick for a while, but they won't stick over the long haul. You really have to use a special glue to make sure these stay in place. We provide that glue with our hood pad kits. So just keep working it. Be patient. Once again, don't try to rip it off. Just be in a hurry. You're going to have to come back and scrape all that excess foam off. So you can see here, I've been able to get most of the foam off as I pull back on this section of the pad and continue to scrape at the glue line. I've completed pulling that old pad off the hood, and can you imagine if I hadn't put that film of plastic down over the engine compartment? This really creates a mess, by the way, so when you're all done, you just want to roll that plastic up and go throw this in a garbage bag. But before I pull the plastic away, I need to go over the hood surface area and make sure all these little pieces of foam have been scraped off. You know, I mentioned earlier about using gloves. Now, I was using some rather heavy-duty nitrile gloves, but even then, after continuous scraping, your hand kind of gets sore. It's not going to cut your hand. So I even recommend using some sort of work glove. And I'm going to use this curved surface right here to do the scraping on these small spots because it tends to get really close underneath the glue like that. Now you're going to have to be a little patient. This is going to take a few minutes to go over the whole area and just make sure all the loose foam is off. So I would say this is going to take me another 10 minutes, and when I'm all done, we'll be ready to install the new pad. But this is a great tool to get that old pad off and to get the hood prepped for the new hood pad.